Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Midwest Medium Podcast, Two Mediums in a Pod series. My name is June Hessler, and with me is Ciara Titus. Hi, Ciara.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm glad to be back. I feel like it's been a
Um,
couple of weeks since we did the last recording, so
It has been a couple weeks since we did the last recording. Before we kick things off with our episode today, I would like to share some events that we have coming up. What events or classes or whatever, what do you have coming up?
so I do have my monthly practice circle that happens online. That's the third Wednesday of every month. And then I will also be at an in-person fair here in Laguna Woods. That's in California. Um, and then I also have a mediumship workshop in March. That's also
And
on Zoom.
that's on Zoom. Okay,
Hmm.
cool. I have a couple things that I'd like to mention. Um, on oh, by the way, Sarah, my next Rosary Prayer group will be February 19th. It's a Thursday. So that is 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central over Zoom. Um, this really started on my end right after Renee Good was killed by ICE. And I felt a huge, strong push to do this. So next one's February 19th. February 21st, I have a massage and mediumship event in Coon Rapids, Minnesota with Holly. I think there's two spots left. Email Holly at vhmassage21@gmail.com. She'll get you set. I do not handle sign up. I don't like knowing who's there. I like going in blind. I have an event March 28th at the Holistic Healing and Wellness Fair in Maple Grove, Minnesota. That's an all-day psychic fair. It's not just psychics, it's healers, it's animal communicators, it's artists, it's anything that falls under the umbrella of holistic. So check that out March 28th. More details are on my website. And also, Sarah, you might find this interesting. I made a commitment. So we're both familiar with Angels Among Us Foundation that our spiritual teacher, Oracle Marine, has started at the request of Kuan Yin. So currently they have uh, a charity golf tournament coming up in April to benefit the conservation of rhinos. And I stopped myself from saying rhinoceroses because I think I say it funny. so I just, so I just say rhinos. So, the reason I bring that up is all of my group readings, 50% of all my group readings from February, March, and April will go towards this event in raising money for rhino conservation. They are under attack. They are being killed for their not tusks, their horns. And it's a serious problem, and they are facing extinction. So, if you want to know more about the actual event that takes place in California, in Orange County in April, go to angelsamongus.foundation.org. They are heaven approved, fantastic organization. And um, I do what I can for them whenever I can. So anyway, that's what I have coming up.
Yay, I'm so happy that you're going to help support them. Um, I'm not exactly sure what I'm gonna do here because it's right down the road. So last time they did it, I was a volunteer in person and it was a great event. I can only imagine it's going to be even greater this time because they're just building momentum.
Yes, totally. And I'm jealous that you are there and you get to like volunteer if you want. Maybe you want to play around a golf. I don't know. I'm not a golfer, but with the pictures I've seen and the beautiful weather that you have, I'm sure it'll be a wonderful day raising a lot of money and not just the money, but the awareness. It's still a problem. The rhinoceroses, I think I said it right, they need help. And I love that Oracle Marine and AAUF shine a light on these difficult, I feel like challenge isn't the right word, but
I would
these
say
difficult,
maybe overlooked.
yeah.
I mean, it's still really an issue, but I think it's overlooked, especially with everything else that's going on. The last thing we think about are rhinos, and last time it was elephants, of these like beautiful giant beasts that we take for granted are being pushed to the edge of extinction. So whatever we can
Yeah,
do, and listeners out there, whatever you can do to help support the Angels Among Us, Oracle Marine, anything like that, and
they
to
do.
attend June's events.
They do great work. They really, really do. So it's my pleasure to do what I can to help them from afar. I'm way over here in ice cold Minnesota. So
And we've mentioned this before, anytime you do a good act, it does create a blessing for yourself because you are creating an act of good, which magnifies into the universe. And that definitely pleases God and the Ascended Masters.
absolutely. Yes. So Ciara and I wanted to take a few minutes to discuss what's happening here in Minnesota. We have not recorded a podcast episode since Alex Pretti was killed on January 24th. So that's why, if you follow the podcast closely, you haven't seen anything from us on that topic. So I just, we have a whole episode dedicated to the killing of Renee Good, and it would be a mistake to not talk about Alex. Now, I know the news here in Minnesota is probably a bit different than what Ciara might be seeing in California, what people are seeing nationally and even internationally. What I can tell you, being very close to where these events are taking place, which, by the way, they are very close to one another. Renee's killing and Alex's killing were just blocks from each other, which are just blocks from George Floyd Square, where he was killed. So it's very odd, but it's just strange to me that they're in such close proximity to one another and reach the level of outrage with all the protesting that's happening and awareness that's being created to these issues in such a small geographic area. So anyway, we wanted to talk about it. I have visited the memorial for Renee, and I did visit last weekend the memorial for Alex. And so I think it's important to at least spend a few minutes on the topic. Ciara, what can you share that you've seen in the news regarding Alex? My guess is that it's maybe more surface level information than what I'm seeing here in the Twin Cities.
I would say absolutely surface level. It's only been like news clips, news bites, I'd say. Um, and I find that weird because I'm turning on the news and it's very like superficial, the things that they want to talk about when I'm like, wow, our nation is falling apart and you want to talk about the weather and clothing.
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
it is weird. I don't know. Maybe it's because the news channels here. I feel like to find out real news, I have to go online, check out certain news sources, and it is kind of hard to dig just the truth and getting facts. So even with Alex's death, when I heard it happen, I popped on the internet and I still felt like I couldn't get to the core of what happened.
sure. Okay, so I actually I was working up here in my room that morning and I just happened to um no wait, I take that back. That is a day I actually let myself sleep in. I usually do work up here in the morning. That morning it was a Saturday, I let myself sleep in. I woke up, I turned on the TV, which I really don't ever do in the morning. I'm usually like doing chores or whatever it is. And I turned it on and it was breaking news on KARE 11, which is one of my go-to sources for local news. And I mean, they hadn't even had his name yet. They actually were identifying this person as someone in their 50s when Alex was in fact 37. So it was really fresh news. And the video was online, but it wasn't being reported yet on the news circuit because they were trying to verify the video, which I appreciate. It's important to make sure that news outlets are sharing facts and not altered images. So anyway, I like heard of it really soon after it happened. Um, I bring that up because although I wasn't there on the ground in South Minneapolis when it happened, I was glued to the TV almost the entire day. I think I watched the news for out like literally hours, which is not something I typically do. Um, so anyway, what happens, Ciara, if you're not too familiar, is Alex Pretti was out. He had a conceal and carry permit. We are an open carry state for firearm in Minnesota, and so he was carrying legally. And he was out with his phone filming ice in an area of South Minneapolis known as Eat Street. It's a area that is very popular, a lot of restaurants, local businesses, secondhand stores, record stores, bookstores, a walkable area. And he was filming ice and he was actually helping to direct traffic. And when he turned from, as I recall the video, he turned and there was he saw an ICE agent forcefully, violently, from what I saw, push a woman and she fell to the ground. Alex intervened, trying to help her up, and that is when he was basically, I'm going to call it swarmed by ICE. Fortunately, thank God people were recording. There's multiple uh, angles of what happened because of multiple people were recording, which I am so grateful for. And I remember watching this live when they were showing clips of the video. And as I'm watching it, within like what, an hour, 2 hours after his killing, I'm watching this video on, breaking news. And all of a sudden I see an ICE agent put his hand down what looked to me like by Alex's waist and pulling something out. And I saw that a few times and I thought, oh my gosh, they took his gun, which was later verified that an ICE agent reached down, disarmed Alex before they shot and killed him. So I don't know if that's part of the news that you've seen in the surface level coverage, but he was disarmed by ICE. It's proven on video, and then they shot and killed him. Um, I believe it was 9 or 10 shots. I don't know if every shot hit him. I don't know if that matters. He was killed. Um, so anyway, that's what happened, of course. More outrage on top of the outrage that Minnesota is already feeling, on top of the pain that we're already experiencing here, and which led to more protests, more sadness and anger and frustration, and people are scared. And I'm one of them. When Renee was killed, I decided to work from home. I was scared to leave my house, which is not a feeling I've ever had before. I'm lucky that way. I've never had to feel that way about leaving my own home, but I felt it in January. So, I feel like I'm kind of rambling at this point, but I feel like it's very important to talk about Alex like we did with Renee. And I didn't know him personally. I didn't know Renee personally, but they were obviously well loved and admired by their family and friends and communities. And I'm so proud of the way Minnesota has stood up, not only for these two innocent people who were murdered, but how we've stood up for one another. For whatever reason, there's false rhetoric floating around that Minnesota is full of paid agitators, paid protesters. And hello, where do I sign up? How can I get paid? Because I can tell you, we're not being paid. Nobody's being paid to do this. And what also I find really heartwarming and gives me hope for our future is, yes, there's different coalitions or nonprofits that have come together and helped to organize, but the original organization for bringing groceries to families who are afraid to leave their home, kids afraid to go to school, um, bringing bringing their neighbors to doctor appointments because they're afraid of maybe taking public transportation or don't have another way to get there because the person that normally brings them is also afraid to leave their house. Communities have rallied and have worked together, just neighbors helping neighbors. And I find that so beautiful, and it gives me so much hope that good will prevail, even on days when it doesn't necessarily feel that way. So I'm very proud of Minnesota and how people have really stepped up and spoken up and protested peacefully against what's happening. One thing that I personally find funny, and I'm not going to apologize for this, I think it's funny, is when people camp out at hotels where they know ICE agents are staying and they play music all night and they make as much noise as possible so that the ICE agents can't sleep. I mean, Minnesota, we're creative people.
Yeah.
I think that's creative.
Um, and also I heard that some businesses are just shut down, like they won't let ICE agents go to the bathroom, buy meals. And it's these silent protests. It reminds me of you know, back during the civil rights movement when they had to do those certain things, like not take buses, um, in order to have a peaceful way to demonstrate that you don't agree with the system. And what happened with Alex is absolutely a tragedy. This is our own government killing US citizens for really no good reason.
And lying about it,
And
lying
that's the
about,
thing, lying about it and starting
yeah.
conspiracy theories because they don't want to admit what they did was wrong. Because if they admit was wrong, then it just is a domino effect of all the things that they've been doing wrong. But it is sad and it is strange that Minnesota has become this hotspot, like sweet Minnesota in the middle of the U.S. But I think of all the places it had to happen it is kind of perfect, this perfect storm of, Minnesota being the place of really kind, friendly people, having an attack on them when they've really been innocent. And then their response has been, I think to me, very Minnesotan in the sense that you guys have gathered together and strengthened the community in response to this oppression and violence and harm that has been done. Like it really is admirable. I don't know if there's other places in the country might have fought back with guns, might have fought back with violence, and that, as we know, does not please
Or
God.
might have not fought back at all.
Yeah, exactly. And so um I've been saying this. There's always the dark ages before the Renaissance. And right now we're just in it. We're in the dark ages because history is repeating itself where people attack each other, create harm, and then people understand or learn how horrible that is for the collective good, and then they'll make changes. But it is unfortunate we have to get to this point.
Yeah, it really is. Minnesotans were known as Minnesota nice, and I mean, I've been here my whole life, 45 years, and I've learned in the last month what Minnesota nice really means. It's not to roll over and be a doormat and let someone do something unjust or whatever it is causing harm. I've learned that Minnesota nice is standing up for your neighbor, standing up for your community, and peacefully fighting for what is right and just, what is constitutional, because it is under attack. So I really do. I probably said this last time. I really do love seeing the videos and hearing the stories of how other states and even other nations are holding up signs saying we stand with Minnesota, holding up signs saying that we're against what's happening to you. That as someone who's lived here my whole life and has this happening right down the road from me, I very much appreciate all of that. I know every Minnesotan who believes this is wrong appreciates that. I think it's beautiful. So we just wanted to make sure that we have spent some time on it. I do want to mention, having gone to both memorials, I did, I did visit both. I found both very moving. Both were very peaceful, as I believe a memorial should be. When I was standing at Renee's memorial a few weeks ago, I remember looking around and replaying the videos that I had seen online and trying to imagine all of that tragic situation happening in that spot that was now dedicated to this woman that most of us didn't even know, but we want to honor her life, honor her legacy, and let her loved ones know that she meant something, that she is important, and that we will remember her. Gosh, what am I trying to say? We will remember her even though we didn't know her, but we know enough about her to memorialize her and to stand up for her, which I think is so important. And the same with Alex. When I went to his memorial last weekend, it was a very snowy day. The roads were awful. Thank goodness we made it there safely. It was not safe driving. Um, it was very quiet and it was really beautiful because the snow was coming down and it was covering the flowers and the signs that people had made, and it was extinguishing the flame and the candles. But people were walking around, and my daughter included, brushing off the signs so that people could read them. People were walking around relighting the candles.
Mm.
um, it was really beautiful. And again, standing there observing the peacefulness, but remembering not long ago there was this awful event that had taken place and this man's life was taken. And from everything I've read, he was a wonderful person who really wanted to help people. And so it's that those stories of these two people, I think, amplify the awful, tragic circumstances that I believe, through no fault of their own, found themselves in.
Yeah. Their names will, well, now they're setting this legacy. Like
Yeah,
they won't be forgotten. And because of what happened to them, there has been a shift. People have had to choose a side. Am I gonna choose the side of good, act peaceful, stand up for what I believe is right and just? Or am I gonna go to the dark side and deny that it's a tragedy, be okay with violence and harm, and like they're gonna go down in our history books for being um, kind of the pivot points of the shift in our society.
that's a great way to put it. Yeah, I feel like you hit it spot on, definitely. Um, so anyone listening, if you've been to my website or saw my social media, my blog, you'll see that Heaven is sending messages about all of this, what's happening with our government, the truth behind what's happening with our government, what needs to happen to course correct, and not lose our democracy. Even Oracle Marine has even more messages than what I've shared. She has even more advanced messages than what I've shared. Check out her blog. I don't enjoy, I have to say, Ciara, I do not enjoy delivering those messages. I would much rather deliver messages about your pets that have crossed over onto the other side, your loved ones. Would rather deliver heartwarming, feel good messages. Um, but unfortunately, because of what mankind is choosing overall, which is the administration that we voted for, well, I didn't vote for, but other people voted for and that won, um, all the harm that and chaos that's happening, heaven's going to keep sending these messages until we as a society grow up and make difficult choices that need to be made and hold people accountable.
Yeah, somebody's got to be the voice of reason. And it's not easy. It is not easy to push back on the major collective that is agreeing with misguided thinking. It is always hard to push back, and it has been
Yeah.
since the beginning of time, where there's always been pushback on a culture that's, I want to say, inappropriate, like not for the highest good.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary.
Mhm.
So, would you like to move on to the topic that we had planned today?
Before we do, what people can do is keep praying for peace, pray for the souls of Alex and Renee, pray for mercy on all those who are making bad choices and causing harm, and just pray for God's intervention to intervene at an even stronger level.
Absolutely. We need that now more than ever, I feel like.
Yeah, and be vocal about, we talked about this in Oracle Marines class about standing up for what you believe is right. Don't do it in a way that will cause harm to others, but be bold
Yes.
in standing up for what's right, which means speaking your voice, peaceful protesting, um, not tolerating what is going on, and being honest about what is going on.
And
Because
helping your neighbors if you can. Help them get the groceries.
absolutely.
Help them get to their doctor appointments, whatever is necessary. One more thing I do want to touch on, Ciara, is you probably had seen the pictures of little boy Liam Ramos, who is 5 years old. He was taken from a nearby school district in Columbia Heights, Minnesota, which is, I think, probably 7 miles down the road from where I am. And long story short, he was detained with his father. They were shipped down to Texas. They were there, I want to say 2 weeks. I think it was 2 weeks, maybe it was longer. They finally came back to Minnesota earlier this week, thank God. But now what is happening is DHS put forth basically an emergency court hearing because they're still trying to deport Liam and his father. So obviously, the family has an attorney. They're fighting back, but DHS has not given up on these people. By the way, the father is here legally. He does have a legal visa to be in America, and DHS is trying to strip away his visa so that they can be sent to I don't even know what country his father is from. I should know that. I do not know. But they're still trying to get this family out of the United States, and I think it's so gross.
It's so crazy the amount of resources,
Yes.
money, energy,
Yeah.
and focus spent on one specific person who is innocent.
Yeah.
And if you think about what's going to happen with our economy, because they're not focusing on the long-term goals of the US being a major player in the international market, with their micro focusing on the wrong things, spending money on the wrong things,
Yeah.
harassing American citizens, and even those who maybe aren't citizens just yet, they're on the way. It's just mind-blowing to me, the misdirect of energy that could actually be used for good.
Yeah.
But
Oh, absolutely. All the money that's gone towards ICE. Well, what about healthcare? Oh, and by the way, you cannot, I don't think a rational person can say that this is happening because it's really that important. And this is the perfect way to do it. Oh, and by the way, I think it's pretty clear that a lot of this is happening. Let's cover up the Epstein files. Let's let's not talk
Yeah.
about Trump and the Epstein files 38,000 times and all of the nasty, diabolical things that I've read with Trump in the Epstein files.
Hmm.
I mean, it's a distraction, an awful, disgusting distraction. On that point, in the same school district as Liam I believe she's a fifth grader. She was sent down to Texas. She was there for a month. They just brought her back to Minnesota. That's a lesser known story, but because Liam went viral, but she goes to the same, she's in the same school. I mean, that school district, the principal's been on the news, at least locally. That school district, that Columbia Heights, Minnesota, has been under attack. And oh, Ciara, I wish I could wave a magic wand and just make it all go away.
I know it's sad on both fronts because it's what's happening to these people. They're being terrorized, but then the people who are causing the terror, their karmic consequence. It's
Yeah,
it's going to be sevenfold. And it might affect us in the collective anyway, because the way we understand
it will.
God, you don't get off easily on any time you cause harm. And you'll receive the karmic consequence, and that karmic consequence will always have offspray.
Yeah,
So we're all going to suffer because people are creating suffering. And it just bums me out on so many levels.
I know. Our hands are tied a little bit in what we can really do to make an impact. So I love your call to prayer. Keep praying, peaceful protesting, helping your neighbor, whatever you can do to help make the world a better place. And like you said, you're creating positive karma for yourself when you do these acts of kindness, when you do these good deeds. It's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't go down the negative spiral, which we can all
No,
do, right? It kind of happens.
it's so easy to do, and it's so easy, I think, to maybe easy is not the right word. It's tempting to align yourself with the negative and with the current administration. It's easy to just maybe follow orders and you know, it's easy to bury your head in the sand like we've talked about before, but we just we need to keep up the momentum. We have a long road ahead of us. I am worried about the midterms. I am worried about ICE being at all the polls, which Steve Bannon has talked about recently. Uh, it's worrisome. So we need to keep the momentum going. We can't get tired. We cannot get tired.
No, we can't. But there is, I do see change. I do feel like there's hope. I think more people are waking up to to what's going on. Like they're really being pushed to make the decision, make their voices heard, because it gets to a point where you can't be quiet anymore.
Right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, and I agree. Yeah, don't give up hope. There's absolutely hope. I delivered a message, I think it was last week, where um, there is still hope, but courage is required.
Oh yeah, I think I saw that. Yeah, which is this whole thing is a test. It
Yeah, it
is.
really is.
It
We're
really
being tested.
is. We're being tested. What are you going to choose? Are you going to choose actions that please God, which are harder to do, or are you going to do actions that please yourself that absolutely displease God? Because
Yeah,
because he doesn't want us to be selfish. He doesn't want us to be ignorant to harm. He really wants us to be courageous and brave and fight for the good of our brothers and sisters.
right. 100%.
Yeah.
So switching gears a little bit, I know our topic that we had scheduled for today was spiritual teaching and sharing our experiences as spiritual teachers. Ciara has more experience in that than I do. So we wanted to talk about that today and not only our experiences teaching the classes that we've taught, but also what we've learned from students, what we've learned from the teaching process. So, Ciara, do you want to share uh, what sorts of classes you've taught? You've been teaching longer than me. I'm more new to it. I just started teaching this past fall, 2025. So you've been doing it longer. Uh, so what types of classes have you taught and what have you learned from it?
Um, I, the type of classes I teach, well, they're about mediumship, psychic development, are the core of it. With the psychic development, that is about understanding how your chakras work, how your psychic clairs, which are your psychic senses, are connected to your chakras, and how we use psychic senses to be able to connect to heaven, to get the advice, guidance, wisdom that we want. And then I'll teach specifically mediumship, where it's all about connecting with those who've crossed over, spirit guides and angels. And yeah, I think I've been teaching for about over 5 years, on and off. And the one thing I really love about teaching is because I remember wanting to start teaching classes because I wanted to be the change that I wanted to see. Does that make sense? Like I had attended psychic development classes, mediums classes, and I remember learning a lot from them, but always thinking, wow, God is missing from a lot of it.
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. And we've talked about this
So,
before.
so were the classes that you were taking were very, I'm presuming, new agey, taking God out of the equation. Yeah,
Yeah. Now, this does not include Oracle Marine. The classes I've
right.
taken, right? We've been Oracle Marine students for a long time, and of course, she's so God-centered, ascended masters connected. But yeah, the New Age, I just felt like, oh, even the environment I was in, a lot of spiritual development environments are very New Age, and I just always wonder, like, where's God in all of this? And so I wanted to teach classes so that I could teach people the foundation, the correct foundation on how to connect to God. And I feel like I at least get to do that. And so that to me is really inspiring. And, when I teach too, it's a very self-reflexive process. Like I get to see how much people change, but I change myself because I get to talk about what I know. But in that process, it does keep me humble and help me understand that I still have a lot to learn,
Hmm.
but that I also have a lot to give as well.
And you're part of people in a way finding their way back to God, and you're part of their spiritual evolution. Yeah, that's cool. Is there, I know I'm putting you on the spot. Is there any, what's the word? I don't even know what the word is. So what have you learned from your students?
Actually, hope is the biggest thing that I feel like I get from my students is I get so inspired by the fact that they're so motivated to learn more, that they do want to connect with God, that they do want to make the world a better place. But they
Hmm.
just kind of don't know how to. They don't necessarily have the skills refined yet to be able to connect in a clear, accurate, and strong way to God and their guides. And it does make me realize like how much I've learned and grown through my spiritual journey, but that they have so much hope and potential. And I think, wow, this is like the future of our world. These are people who are going to make a difference. And so that's, I think, the biggest thing that I get from my students is just encouragement, motivation, and excitement.
Yeah, that's cool. I think too, for anyone who, and myself included, I mean, that's part of my story and what got me down the mediumship path was I was looking for a class. I wanted to take a class. I didn't know what the class was. I didn't know who would be teaching it, but I could feel at my core I needed to take a class. And I did some research with classes that are offered around the country, either in person or over Zoom with instructors. I've heard of but didn't really know, I've never worked with before. And none of it just felt right. And that very same week, Oracle Marine had posted that she was going to teach a class. And I thought, bingo, I know her, I trust her. That's the class I'm going to take. So, my point in bringing that up is that it can be challenging for a person to really find a class that is taught by someone that they trust, taught by someone that resonates with them. I always tell people if you want to take a class, do it, but meditate on it, pray on it, and your guides and angels will guide you to the teacher that they want you to learn from.
Yeah, absolutely. People have to use their discernment. And it is kind of funny how sometimes you just won't find any offerings that really align with you, and you have to be patient for those right classes to pop up, for the right teacher to finally offer what your soul is thirsting for. I feel so blessed to have fallen under Oracle Marine's umbrella and to really be taught in the right way. A lot of what I've learned through her is what I teach in my classes.
Same. I feel so grateful. Yes, like you said, be under her umbrella. That's a great way to put it. Um, because I think it is important if someone wants to pursue spiritual development, it needs to be with a teacher that teaches about God and Jesus
Yeah.
and not a teacher. I don't want to like berate anybody or or like my point is find a teacher that aligns with God, teaches about him, teaches about Jesus. It's so incredibly important. I would not be where I am at now with my spiritual abilities, with my discernment, if I had bypassed that opportunity with Oracle Marine all those years ago and went with somebody else that is not God centered. I, I'm
Yeah.
sure I'd be spinning my wheels.
And that's a good way to put it. I feel like people who have gone, because I know with my classes, and I know with Oracle Marines classes, and I'm sure with yours, we teach according to God and the Ascended Masters, and it is harder. And I know I've had students, and I know people who will go to to other teachers who offer guarantees, who offer a certificate if you go through this. So all of a sudden it makes you a qualified reader. Like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I'm always like, no, don't fall into that because spiritual development is constantly ongoing. It doesn't stop. So to get a certificate or something like that,
Yeah.
it's really a marketing tool. It's not for your soul's development.
I love that you said it's ongoing and nonstop because I do believe that that's true. Spiritual development is 24/7, 365 days a year. It
Exactly.
it's not something, yes, I can to some degree turn on and off my spiritual abilities if I'm going to read for somebody or if I have a mediumship event coming up, whatever. But even when I think I'm turned off, I'm not, and messages come through when I least expect it, or all of a sudden there's a deceased loved one in my bedroom and I don't know who they're for. I just, these things happen. And so yeah, it's totally around the clock, but also, and I'm sure this was also included with what you just said, I'm just kind of, I guess, elaborating on it. I'm still reading the Bible. And we started Bible class, I don't know how many years ago, 3 years ago maybe. I'm still reading it. Um, it is a constant, you and I both, we do our meditations, we do, like we talked about before, the behind the scenes work that people don't see. It is, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It is 24/7 nonstop. Going to church. I mean, it's all the, yeah,
It's all the time. It's integrated into our life.
yes,
And when you don't integrate it, that's where people find that disconnect, the restlessness, the insecurity about like who they are, what they're doing is because they're not aligned with God, because they don't have an integrated kind of spiritual practice. Um, so yeah, that's why it's always good to follow a teacher that you trust, who you know is connected to God. Like I know for me, when I started teaching too, I was also getting pushed by the ascended masters to teach what they have taught through Oracle Marine.
Mhm.
So I try to do my best to really teach what will serve people's best interest, like what will be best for their soul, even though it might be harder.
There is no certificate that says you are connected to God.
Exactly.
It doesn't exist. You either feel it and you know it and you practice it, or you don't. I don't care what a piece of paper says.
And you have to keep practicing because you can lose that connection.
Yes,
Yeah.
100% you
I mean,
can.
that's the thing. I that keeps motivating me is because my connection keeps growing. But I also know that if I stopped meditating, if I stopped praying, if I started really relying on my ego, um, that my abilities and my opportunities would dry up because I wouldn't be doing God's will. I would be doing mine.
And putting in the work. It is work. It's not always a feel good um experience. It's going to church when you don't feel like going to church. It's praying when you don't feel like praying. It's meditating when you don't feel like meditating. It's following through on your spiritual event commitment when you don't feel like following through on your spiritual work commitment. Because we all have off days. We all get sick. We all get headaches or whatever you want to call it. We're not always in the mood to do all of these things. So it's the consistency, it's the dedication, it's doing it anyway, doing it in spite of.
Uh, Yeah, it's funny. It's so true because I told you I was really busy this past month where I was just getting booked. I was having classes and I kept getting booked. Like people would just go on my website and they were booking me. And so I've worked every Saturday this past week, doing fairs and doing readings. And sometimes I don't want to do it because I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
But I pull myself together because this person had booked. This person is really needing my services.
They're with you for a reason.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to do is disappoint because as we've talked about before, readings are so healing. The work that we do can be so transformational. And so I could never think of denying that from somebody just because I feel a little bit tired, just because I have a little bit of a headache. I mean, we do have to have
Yeah.
balance, right? Where we have rest in between work. But when someone books with me, I know, okay, God's allowed this to happen. This is God's will. I got to make sure I pull through on my end.
And if we don't, I mean, because we're being tested all of the time.
Yes.
And so if and I'll try to make this short, but I have a really good example of that. My very first fair I did in the spring of 2025, so coming up on a year. And I, I, if I've already shared this on the podcast, I apologize, but I'm going to say it again. I don't think I've shared it because it's a little embarrassing, so I might not have. Um, I don't even remember what the situation was, but I got so mad that I took God's name in vain. I did. And immediately, I'm like, the next breath, I was apologizing because I knew at the position that I'm at with what I do for him. Oh man. I knew it was a mistake. I knew I was upset about something. It just flew out of my mouth. And like I said, the next breath, I was immediately apologizing, asking for forgiveness. I'm so sorry, over and over and over again. And actually, I started to cry. I felt that bad about, and I should have felt that bad because what I did was bad. I bring this up because I was being tested. I failed in that moment. I went on to apologize. I can't even tell you countless times. And then it was a week before my very first fair that I had worked. What had happened, or I'm sorry, that was 2 weeks before my very first fair. Because I knew I was going to get a karmic consequence. I knew, and I knew it was going to be bad because it always comes back on us harder than what we gave. In my
Hmm.
case, what I let fly out of my mouth. The very next week, which was 1 week before my fair, I threw my back out.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was walking like a duck. I mean, that's what happens when June throws her back out. She walks funny. And it's painful. It's not just walking around funny and looking funny. It hurts every single step I take. And Ciara, I never get sick. I rarely, knock on wood, get sick. And I got sick. It was a double whammy. And it was that whole week leading up to my very first fair that I was already nervous about, that I was already trying to prepare for, that I
Yeah,
was already had anxiety about, but I knew to maintain blind faith that I was going into this fair for a reason. This was a spiritual work opportunity for a reason, and it all went great. But my point is, we're always being tested. And when we fail and when we create that negative karma for ourselves, it comes back 2 or 3 times or even more harder on us. So
I'd
that
say
whole,
7 times. 7 times.
yeah,
Yeah.
that whole time, that whole week leading up to this, I could barely walk normal. My back hurt and I was sick. And so anyway, that's my point. It's we're always being
We're
tested.
always being tested, especially with work. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, don't make the mistake I made.
No, and we all do. We
It was
all make
bad.
mistakes.
The fair was great. It was wonderful. It was a great experience. So I'm glad I didn't pull out of it. I'm glad I didn't not do the fair. I was under contract to do it. I had paid money to do it. So obviously I'm going to show up and do it. But my point was I was very sick. My back was killing me and I showed up and I did it anyway. So,
Yeah, and I'm sure you were blessed because of it. But yeah, absolutely, we're tested every second, every second of the day, really.
yeah.
On what are we going to use our bravery, our confidence, and blind faith and
Hmm.
trust in God?
Hmm.
And I do feel like that is a tension that we're always feeling.
Yeah, I think you're right. Definitely. So I've only taught one class, which was last fall, and it was cool because one night I was sleeping and my guides and angels gave me a vision and they showed me two classes. I don't know what the second class is yet, but the first one they gave me was teach people how to develop a stronger connection to their spirit guides and guardian angels. And I remember waking up really excited and I was like, oh my gosh, I get to teach a class. And so and the reason I say it that way is because I do my best to wait for guidance rather than just making an off the cuff decision and it end up being the wrong decision and it's not something I should be doing. So I wait for guidance. And so they gave me the class, they helped me structure the class, like how much to charge for the class. They gave me everything, which I'm sure they give for you. And it was really fun. I was nervous, but again, it was like a blind faith situation. They're having me teach this class for a reason. And it was really fun and rewarding. And I am grateful that I had the opportunity to teach and that I had people that actually signed up and wanted to learn from me. Um, so it was really fun. And I have to say, it was such a great feeling knowing that people trust me and wanting to learn from me and to be part of their spiritual development uh, is really rewarding. And I would say my students taught me to stay focused and to keep doing the work that I'm doing because I was able to see how the nuggets of information I could teach them was inspiring them to develop a closer relationship to God and Jesus. And if I can be part of someone's development in that way, I think that's such a huge honor. And I'm so grateful for that. So I really enjoyed my first teaching opportunity.
Yeah, I can absolutely resonate with all that you've said, and I'm so glad that you had a really good teaching experience. I'm not surprised. If your guides give you that, push to do it, then it's blessed by heaven, right?
Yeah.
I mentioned that I teach like psychic development and mediumship. Those are the workshops that I teach. Those are like 1 day workshops. But the one thing I do have ongoing monthly is a spiritual development mentoring group. So right now I have 6 students and they're with me kind of long term, like 6 months at a time. And that is actually one of my favorite classes to teach because everybody gets to come forward with a specific issue that they're working on. Like one person maybe wants to work on their inner child, one person wants to work on opening up their clairvoyance even more. And what I like about them is because they're really dedicated students that really enjoy spiritual development. So it is like this cool energy exchange of me giving the advice and guidance that I have learned through my own journey and to give it to them and see them implement it and change because of it. And yeah, get
Yeah.
closer to God because of it. It's such an honor and it's such a privilege to be able to walk alongside people in this journey.
And you're witnessing those changes firsthand.
Yeah, and they tell me, and I see it in them. All of a sudden, they have more peace. They feel more confident because they're tackling goals that they set. They're doing the work themselves. I'm just kind of giving these nuggets of advice. Um,
Yeah.
it's
Well, and you're guiding them along
guiding
the
them.
way.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's cool. I like it. I'm looking forward to see what class they want me to teach next.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
So, Ciara, I know we're over time. Is there anything else that we didn't touch on today that you wanted to talk about, or do you feel we've touched on everything that you were wanting to discuss today?
I think we touched on everything. The one thing I do want to mention for those who are listening, if you're thinking about taking a class, take a chance and just do it.
Oh yeah, don't let anything hold you back. Yeah. I sometimes I think people might um I mean, for whatever reason, everyone has a different background and different life experiences. So someone might be feeling fearful or anxious or maybe feel like they don't have the time to commit. Whatever it is, like the cool thing about the class I did was it was online and I recorded it. So if someone missed the class, I could just send them the recording and they still got class. So that's the great thing about like Zoom class versus in person. Um, so, yes, you're absolutely right. Take that leap. It's a leap of faith, and you're being guided to that for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lean into it, trust it, and then just find the teacher that resonates with you and really make sure that they're God-centered. It's so important.
Yeah, I feel like if it's not God-centered, you will be spinning your wheels. It will be very limited on um, what you'll be able to implement in your life. Like if somebody is a God-centered, the techniques they're showing you and teaching you will only get you to a
A certain point.
certain point. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you'll be craving more anyway. You'll reach whatever that cap is, and I would imagine you'll be craving more because your soul is connected to God. I mean, we're all connected. So you're always going to be craving, you might not be able to put your finger on it, but you're always going to be craving that next thing, whatever that is. So
Yeah. And that happened with me, my very first psychic development workshop. It was the very first thing I've ever done. It was good, but she wasn't God-centered. It was very new age. But I was still able to learn. But after that, I was like, I want more. And that's when I found Oracle Marine.
yeah,
Yeah.
very cool. Well, I think that wraps up our conversation for today.
I think it does.
Okay. Well, everyone, I'm June Hessler.
And I'm Ciara Titus.
Thank you for listening to Two Mediums in a Pod, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
By the way, Ciara has something that she wants to share.
So when June and I talked about the medium who had done the group reading and had outed somebody's affair, I actually did receive insight from my guides on what exactly happened. they did show me that it was a test for that medium. And um, what they really wanted the medium to choose was to use more discernment in how she approached it. And actually, when she outed that person, she was dimmed. She wasn't allowed. And I bet you if we looked into it, she probably hasn't been given very many work opportunities because of it, because God trusted her with this piece of information and wanted to see how she would behave and act with it. And I was told that she acted more in her ego. Like she was so happy to out this person to prove that she knew this secret. And she did receive a karmic consequence because of it.
Yeah, and it's mediumship is not used to as a tool to prove yourself right. It's not used as, or it shouldn't be used as a tool um to behave in that way. It is
Yeah, to
for
inflate
helping people, to inflate your ego. It is for helping people.
your.
Plain and simple. It's that simple.
Yeah, so just
Well,
a little insight on that.
yeah, I'm glad you got the insight. Thanks for sharing. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again soon.